All right, so I am just now beginning to make my assets file. And I need my assets file to be the right resolution. And the right resolution is 8 inches tall by 150 pixels per inch, PPI. Now my width is 11 inches here. That's because my background is larger than I need it to be so that I can move with the background when needed. But my finished animation frames are going to be square. They're going to be 8 inches square. So what I can do is create what's called a hero frame. So if I'm going to compose it in squares, what is the square that I want my creature to show up in? And I can do that by using the rectangular marquee tool, holding down Shift. It will give me a square. And then while still on the marquee tool, square selection tool, I can move that back and forth. It will stick to my guides. And I can decide, okay, I can move my camera all this way. Right? Now, if I want to zoom in, I can do that too, but I'm going to lose some resolution, right? So I can say my hero frame is going to be this, and then make guides for that. So that's when I get really close to my character. But if I want my hero frame to be this, then I want to make my image size large enough that this square is 8 by 8 inches by 150. And right now this is smaller than that. So I can go back in my history to before I did the image size, right? And I can make that hero frame. But this requires a little bit more planning, a little bit more thinking about exactly how big it should be. So let's say that's my hero frame. That's as close as I'll ever get to my character. Then I want to bring guides around it. And I need to look at the measurement. So I have it from 4 inches to 14 and a bit. So if I look at my image size, I need to make that around 8 inches. So that's where it gets tricky. And I can do it this way. I can crop it to this image size and just see, write it down, it's 10.334, and say OK, or cancel, 10.334, go back in my history before I cropped it, realize if that's 10.334, I need to convert 10.334 to 8 inches, and then you convert the overall image size by that amount. So you can do that for zooms, but what's much, much easier is to just give yourself a little extra resolution, which we do, and to just crop to the edges. So don't worry about perfect camera moves, worry about more convenient and understandable camera moves. So that's why instead I'm going to keep my hero frame as tall as my background. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to make the height of my overall landscape, and this is what I recommend for you, image size 8 inches tall by 150 pixels per inch. And that's more resolution than you need for most screens for a GIF animation. Okay, I have extra on each side, and that is for panning the camera should I ever need to. But this is my main stage, this box inside, which you can get a perfect square by hitting Shift, and then the guides will stick to that selection. Okay, now that I have the right resolution, I'm going to save this, not as assignment 1 anymore, but as assignment 5, assets file. This is my treasure chest. This is where everything goes. I'm going to save it to the desktop. Because basically this whole project you should be able to do with just 2 Photoshop files. Okay, so let's keep it pretty simple to begin with. I've got a lot going on in my background which is not necessary, but I'm trying to help those of you who have started. Okay, this is my first keyframe. I have to establish my character. So there's a bunch of things I can do to do that. I can start with an empty background and have my character come in from the side, right? Or I can move the camera a little bit and it reveals my character already in place. Or I can do a little bit of both. So let me do a little bit of both. What is my very first frame going to be? I've set this up, but what is my very first frame going to be? It's going to instead be on this corner. Hold down Shift. This corner. And I'm going to move my character. So let's make a duplicate of my character. And I'm going to move that off frame. Okay? So he's going to start coming in. It's like directing an actor. So my first frame, let me make a guide for it, goes to right here. I'm going to hold down Shift. So I'm going to give myself a new guide. This is camera move 1. Right? My character is not in the frame yet. So this is really just establishing the scene. So you notice he's not in there yet. I can have him turned off or on. Now what do I want the weather to look like? I probably want most of this stuff turned on, but I don't want the rain so heavy. I can have it as bright as this, let's say for the first frame. And then when it really starts to pick up, I'll add some more splashes and I'll add more rain, right? So I have rain 1 turned on. I have driftwood always turned on until it gets really dark. I'm going to keep my overlay layers. I'm going to keep my texture overlays just to help blend everything together. Okay, how do I make this into my first frame? Well, I need to open a new file. So File, New. And I'm going to call this Carl Assignment 5. And this is called the Stage file. FA17, Digital Art. Oh, Digital Art, FA17. Catch up with me. There we go. How large do I want it to be? I want it to be 8 by 8 inches. Now this does have to be square because this is what your final animation is going to be outputted from by 150 pixels per inch. This is my stage file. I separate those two by dragging out that tab, right? So this is where I set up all my puppets and I organize all my elements and I add new characters and I play around with lighting and effects and colors. But at some point, I have to like how it looks and I have to say, let's make it a film frame. Let's take the picture. So this is how I do that. I go to the very top turned on layer, right? I hold down Option. You're going to get very used to this. And if you're doing a camera frame, it's good to have that marquee on. I hold down Option. I say Layer Merge Visible. That makes a duplicate of it up here, so you're never deleting any layers. Then, because I have this marquee for my square, for my camera move, then I can hit Command J, and it gives me a duplicate. Now I move that layer over and drop it into my stage. And because they are the exact same resolution, it should snap right into place. So that is layer 1. It becomes frame 1 of my animation. So now what's the next thing? Because I have all the assets I need to build up a few different steps now, just to get to my first storyboard frame where I introduce my character. My next frame, I'm going to move my start to move my character in a little bit. So there he is. And I'm going to move my camera in a little bit. So I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to use the marquee. I'm going to start it about here. So I'm panning now. And if you want to be really, really smooth, like it's a dolly shot, you have to move the same amount with each frame. So I'm moving about ½ an inch to the left. Okay, and that's going to overlap my character by that much. Not a whole lot. In fact, yeah, that's fine. If I wanted to split the difference, I could do 1/4 of an inch. I always make this too complicated so I can show you all the options you have, right? Because I don't mind if GIF animations are pretty choppy, but let me do 1/4 of an inch. And let me even move my character a little bit more slowly. Because these are basically the in-betweens, right? So let me move the character just so his fingertips are in the original frame. And now the new frame, which I start 1/4 of an inch in, hold down Shift to get the perfect square, goes that far. See that? And I can mark it with the guide in case I lose it. Mark it with the guide on the other side. Now I'm going to change the rain. Just going to change it to rain 2 and turn off rain 1. Right? No big deal, but you're going to see how it's a difference in the stage. Okay, now what do? I go to my topmost turned on layer, hold down Option, say Layer, Merge Visible. Then I duplicate my selection, which is the square, Command J. Then I move that over to my stage. And using the Move tool, lock it into place. Now this is why you need the separate files, because this shows you now one frame then the other. And you see how the lighting changes a little bit, the rain changes a little bit, and we start to see the camera move to the side, and we start to see this little hand get revealed. Okay, next frame. I'm going to move my character a little bit more, because I'm not just revealing my character, I'm actually moving them into the frame. And I'm going to move my camera another 1/4 inch to the 11 up there. And I'm going to change the rain. I know it sounds incredibly complicated, but that's what animation is. Setting all these parameters. So I have to remember to change the rain. I did rain 1 last time. I did rain 2 this time. This time I'm going to do rain 3. Simple enough. How do I merge them all together? How do I take the photo to move to my stage? I hold down Option. I say Layer, Merge Visible. I hit Command J to get just my selection. And then move it over. So does doing panning camera shots make it more complicated? A little bit. Because if I just had a static camera and my assets file was just 8 by 8 inches, then I wouldn't have to do the selection of the assets file. I could just copy the whole thing. But it's not difficult if you keep it all organized. And then I snap this into place. So let's see my first 3 frames of my animation now, just like that. Does the sky change? Yes. In little ways, it's going to keep cycling. And I like it because I even have that little rainbow in the sky. Okay, I'm starting to reveal a character now. I could start to build up texture. I could do lots, but I still have a lot of story. I'm not even to my first frame yet. So you'll get a sense of the limitations and what aspects you want to do. Okay, so let's see if I can get to the first frame here. I'm going to move the camera a little bit faster now. So it's going to speed up, and I'm going to get to my hero shot. And I'm going to move my character in closer to its final position, about there. Not only am I going to move the character, I'm going to transform him a little bit. I'm going to tilt him a little bit. Okay? And now, the hero shot's right here. So you'll see a different film speed. And I'm going to keep the camera there for a while. Hold down Option, say Layer, Merge Visible. Oh, I got to change the rain. Back to rain 1.